Haley, here in the district today marks 1 year since President Trump announced a federal surge in D.C., deployed the National Guard, and temporarily federalized the D.C. Police Department.
Yeah, it feels like it's been more than a year. Am I
Yeah.
wrong?
No, it hasn't, and it kind of went by quick, I think.
Really? Okay, we're living in two different timelines, Mark. But you're right. The most notable, visible step in President Trump's efforts to make DC safe and beautiful again. There was a big outcry from a lot of people in the district. It caused a buzz. Max Marcella has more from Sunrise on the Hill this morning.
The legal pushback started when Attorney General Brian Schwab sued the Trump administration, calling for the National Guard to be pulled from the city streets. Ultimately, that is still pending. The other lawsuit, something we just saw recently, it was a veteran sued the National Guard alleging an assault. So we are seeing some of pushback in the courts, but then as mentioned, pushback on the streets as well. We have to remember that even though the National Guard has been the most constant presence, one of the things that got the headlines, especially very early on, was the surge of federal officers, including immigration agents. There was a real spike in immigration arrests. We're talking about more than 1,500 in D.C. in the first 4 months of the surge. And we spoke with someone from the organization IUTA. They work with a lot of immigrant families, including those who are victims of crime. And they said at IUTA they are seeing people still fearful from the effects of those first few months.
Fear of, simply leaving their house, going about their days, taking their kids to school. In particular, fear with reporting crimes to police, calling 911, going into police stations, cooperating with the police.
What do the numbers show about what the impact of this deployment has been in the district?
Yeah, so Drew, the numbers do show that crime is down, but there is some context that we need to tell you about. So we'll show you the crime stats and this graphic. We have homicides down almost 44%, violent crime down almost 14%, total crime a little more than 25%. That's from August 11th of 2024 to 2025. And then comparing that with the year that has been since the surge. And the White House, for its part, we can show you the statement for what they say related to this drop in crime. A spokesperson says that the president has transformed the nation's capital from a crime-ridden city into a safe and beautiful haven. The spokeswoman goes on to talk about the number of arrests and the impact that the task force has had driving down crime and improving the quality of life for countless individuals. But that context is that crime was already going down before this, in some cases, including assaults with a dangerous weapon and in overall violent crime. The crime stats were showing a faster decrease before this federal surge. We spoke with Governor Patrick Morrisey of West Virginia, who talked about the importance of having his guard members on the streets of D.C. You guys talked to him yesterday. I want to play some of that sound for you.
I think one thing that taxpayers certainly want is they want to make sure that crime is low. And that's something I care about pretty passionately here in West Virginia. And people sometimes don't care how it's made lower, but when you have violence against the body, violence against your house, when you have auto thefts, that bothers people to the core, as it should.
There are some people who say this is not the most efficient way to do it. There are reports saying the Guard has had essentially no impact on curbing violent crime. And there are people who say you look at the price tag, we're talking about in the ballpark of $2 billion for the entire 3+ year deployment through the end of President Trump's term, should it last that long. And there are questions of whether that money was best spent.
So, Haley, it's been a year, and the talk was even before the National Guard, before the deployment, that violent crime in the district was on its way down. And some could argue that even after the deployment, those numbers were even more aggressive because of the presence. So you talk to people who live in the district, especially in those areas where, you have that presence. It was always controversial, should they be there, should they not be there? But I think anytime crime goes down, the overwhelming majority of people are at least, they feel good about that.
Yeah, and one thing that stands out to me, I know we focus a lot on violent crime, but carjackings being down. You have to wonder if having those visible deterrents in a lot of different places is a factor in keeping carjackings low. But I think a lot of people have gotten used to seeing the National Guard in here.
Yeah. Absolutely. Let's continue. President Trump is now acknowledging that there was a contractor error during the renovations of the reflecting pool. And he posted on social media recently saying that the project was rushed to finish in time for the 4th of July celebration. And for months, the president blamed vandals without any evidence. Then last week, the Justice Department dropped the charges against former Olympian David Hearn for damaging the landmark, with prosecutors accusing the contractor of hasty and botched work that led to the liner to peel. However, President Trump recently asked, he continues to say that Hearn is responsible and is calling on prosecutors to revisit the dropped charges.
Interesting stuff there. Hearing from our reporters who were there on the scene at the National Mall when all of that was happening, they were stunned by just seeing pieces of the mall coming off.
Yeah, well, the story I think will continue to give. And let's head to Maryland. A legal showdown to redraw Maryland's congressional map ahead of the next presidential election. The General Assembly passed a resolution to put the measure on this November's ballot, and they say that Republicans say that Democrats are putting political considerations ahead of constitutional principle, while Democrats call the referendum a needed counter to Republicans redrawing congressional boundaries ahead of the November midterms. With that started with President Trump's insistence that Texas create GOP-leaning seats. Take a listen.
Republicans believe they should be able to pick the voters. One goal in mind: anyone who won't vote for us should not be able to vote.
It attempts to incorporate gerrymandering into our state constitution.
Well, many political experts say that if the referendum passes, and it would weaken the GOP's strength in the Eastern Shore congressional district, currently held by a Republican.
All right, Mark, let's take it to the Commonwealth of Virginia, where small business owners are rallying against the government over new hemp laws. A lot is changing, a lot of moving pieces here in the world of CBD hemp cannabis. They take effect in 5 days, and they say that it could wipe out their entire livelihoods as well as turn them into criminals overnight. So currently, Virginia law allows certain hemp products with more than 2 milligrams of THC. That is the component that causes high, right? The high, rather. If they contain at least 25 times more than CBD, it's not psychoactive. But the exemption goes away on August 15th, making a lot of the products on their shelves illegal. So small business owners have filed a federal lawsuit challenging the law. They're calling on lawmakers to change it in a special session, go back to Richmond, and advocates, Mark, they're also warning that the new rules could limit some products that patients rely on in their medical care. A lot of moving pieces as there is a hearing on this on Wednesday in Roanoke. We will be following that one. That's a big one.
Let's head back here to the district where Monumental Sports and Entertainment and Capital One unveiled the next chapter. Take a look at that, the next chapter of Capital One Arena. And this will bring fans and businesses and, of course, the athletes, and it's going to continue to bring the D.C. community together. That's certainly the hope. The new transformation represents a significant investment in the district. Not a bad look.
Looks good. We got to catch a game.
Absolutely.